Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Level Up Cleveland. And this week, we have with us in the studio guys from Quiet Zoo. I'm going to announce the guys from left to right that are here today. I have Zach Hurst. Zach is the singer and guitar. And to his right is Mikey Juba, and he's the bass player. Not here with you guys. Maybe we'll get him on another episode, but we have Shane Hutchinson, the drummer, and we have Eric Kish, who's the other guitar player.
Yep, absolutely.
That covers it all.
That's
all
it.
right. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
Yeah,
It's
hanging in there.
really nice to be here.
Thanks for coming down.
Yeah.
Coming up. You guys are another band from Level 5, so
Yep.
you guys actually just come up when to do the show. You didn't have to do anything else. Just
Yeah,
walk up some stairs.
We're just downstairs, man, hanging out.
Pretty cool, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Guys just dropped a new EP.
We did.
Self-titled, Quiet Zoo. I've been listening to it this week, and it's very good. Very good. Very surprised, actually. I was shocked because I got to be honest, there's a lot of times I'll put it, something on, one song, and I'm like, I got an idea.
Right.
I listened to the whole thing. I listened to the whole thing. and then what was really good is the third song is, it's a surprising thing that goes on in that song. Like, you guys do a major change up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me just start right there. So who writes a lot of this stuff? Is this a band thing, or is there a guy do you bring a lot of the ideas? Do you bring usually it's guitars, bass players are usually doing a lot of the stuff. How do you guys do it?
So none of it is calculated at all. It's we were talking in the car about it today, and it's just we just free play. We just freeform play.
So you guys do a lot of jamming, and then from the jams, do you guys record the jams?
Nope.
Some of our best songs are lost to the ether.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, why have you thought about?
Oh yeah, we
Possibly
talk about it all the time. We're like, we should have recorded that. And then as soon as you get the microphones in there, you just play.
Things change. Do you feel like that's
Probably.
what happens?
Well, it would just
You
probably
lose some of
be-
the improv type feel.
It's this we get in this moment of like we're very present, and it's like this Zen meditative mode where we're just so fucking locked in on something. And sometimes we're lucky enough to like, okay, we did it, let's do it again. And it's not quite the same, but it's there for the most part. And we try to like bring it back to life. But sometimes we'll just take a break from it just to kind of, it's like mixing or editing audio. Sometimes you just kind of like, you lose perspective. So you take a break.
Totally get it.
You come back to it and you're like, yeah, this song is fucking awesome.
Yeah. It's like songs will even sound different just from the break.
Yeah.
Right? Like you've heard it. You take a break and then you come back and you're like, well, that's way better than I remember. Or that's or the other thing. You're like, wow, I remember that sounding a lot better before. One or the other. But that break does allow your ears to kind of like cleanse out a little bit, and then all of a sudden you've got a fresh perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that what you do though? You guys write pretty much in an organic way. So do you guys just remember everything from jamming it?
Yeah.
And then the next time you guys get down there, like, all right, we got to work on that song, and everybody just remembers their parts.
Yeah, we're very good at remembering things that we really like. And that's kind of like how songs that we want to play survive, is that if we keep playing it, and it's not even like a huge conversation. Like, we don't really talk much about what we're doing when we're writing music. It just kind of like, there's some like here and there commentary of like, oh, we should try this or whatever. But
play that again. Do that thing that you just did again.
Yeah.
And then,
I think we should tell people a little bit more about you guys also, so they know what kind of music you guys play and stuff like that. You guys are pretty much a death metal type band. I mean, I think now we have all these subgenres of metal, but in my perspective, so that's what you guys do. It's like a death metal, except I think you guys, I don't know how this, but you're a little more of a palatable version of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think your rhythms are very hooky, catchy type things. You have it's just a very, I was very surprised at how much I was taken aback and like, wow.
Someone described us as like a very dark version of alternative.
Exactly. It's definitely proggy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll say that. Well, it definitely is that. I mean, there's no question. Well, that's what you guys are doing. It's a massive amount of fusion and things going on here where, I mean, not just fusion in the way where the bass guitar and drums together are doing something that's a fusion style. Like, you'll be doing like one complete style, and then now you're doing something and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Very like melodic and emotional and kind of like
lots of drama.
Yes, dramatic parts all of a sudden
Yeah.
come in where you stray from this metal, this crazy, exciting type uplifting shit, and then it's like, now we're going to steer you over here, and you're going to drive down this road, and this is where we're taking you. And it's not done in a way where you're like, oh, it's very like, wow, this is, yeah, man, excellent.
It really means a lot.
Well, I mean, I think people should check it out. It's an EP. One thing that's kind of neat is stuff coming out today is like 3 songs or 1 song. So you don't have to listen to a whole album anymore. To 3 songs and it's done. I don't think people can listen to a whole album anymore. Their attention span won't.
I know we were talking about, how it was made, and I learned everything from the ground up, mixing, tracking.
Yeah, you did all. Yeah, that's another thing. You engineered it. You mixed it. You produced it.
That was like the COVID like the COVID thing that I did, right? Everyone had like this thing to like do or learn, and I started going to college for audio engineering, and then I was like, well, I really like the DIY kind of mentality, and I'm saying I'm going to do this myself, even if it takes me fucking forever. I'm gonna learn, and it's gonna, and we did it, and a lot of that stuff was done with very minimal like equipment and very minimal like. There's nothing fancy about it.
Yeah, because the sound of it is excellent. I was actually another thing that I was kind of like, oh, and to be honest with you, like I was going to ask you where you went. I thought this was professionally done.
I did it in my small office in my house.
That's awesome.
Just pedal board. Eric, we're all really into like, big pedal board setups to get like all sorts of different flavors of sounds, and. Mikey tracked bass in the office, Eric, myself, just a small little room, and just direct mic'd it, done.
That's all you need.
That's all we needed.
Yeah, especially with Pro Tools and stuff like that now. You don't really need a lot of space.
Mm-hmm. We recorded the drums back in 2019 before COVID happened. I want to mention him. His name is Scooter Fort from Rewire Recording or Studio. I can't remember. I'm sorry, Scooter, if I'm fucking it up, but... that's kind of how it started, and then COVID happened.
So you guys had the drum tracks?
Yeah. So the drum tracks were done down in Akron. I forgot what the studio is called, but it was done there. And then we were doing like some tracking, and we have an original version of Burnt Blue that was done just back in the day, and none of us really liked it very much.
It's night and day difference.
Night and day difference.
Oh, really?
And it's kind of funny having it on there still, because people can kind of hear like where we started and where we're at,
Yeah, right. The progression.
Yeah.
Of the proggy band.
So two of the same song, but it's like I remember I was like in my car listening to like the EP. Just I wanted to hear it like on a streaming service, and then the original Burnt Blue started playing. Like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, oh, I don't. It was
just on there, and then
it was just on there. Yeah, some like, other people did it, and no disrespect, it was the guy who kind of mixed it. It was just like, oh, it's just too. It was just too. It felt too gross, and that was like not what we were going for.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you guys have a pretty refined sound. I mean, it's not a real messy sounding. It sounds like I say, it sounds produced.
Thank you.
Sounds well produced. It sounds like a well produced thing. I was like I say, I was shocked at how much I liked it. And you have and the voice you use, like we were talking before the interview, death metal, it's just like every other, people. There's a lot of people that don't really get into death metal. They don't understand that it's really not that much different than other musics. You have different styles of death metal singers.
When the band started, the idea was something. And we don't sell like either of these bands. It's just more of an idea. It was like, I would like to do something like Converge mixed with like explosions in the sky. So it's something like really heavy and gross, but also like dramatic and beautiful to listen to. Like very cinematic in a way. And that's, but bringing these guys in with their all like our Venn diagram of interests kind of made it what it is. And there's no like debate about what this person should do, whatever. It's all like whatever makes you happy in making these songs is the right choice.
You're right.
So it's
there's no wrong choice. Well, nobody else. You're writing your own stuff.
Yeah.
So the only people that know anything about anything until it's released is you guys. Once the song comes out, that's all anybody knows is what's there. I mean, all that other stuff is.
Yeah.
no longer matters.
And Mikey's been a great fit. Go ahead, Mikey.
This is actually a fun little tidbit. Forever ago, I think it was probably years before I even joined the band on bass, I auditioned for vocals because their songs were like instrumental for a long time. You didn't know what to do over the music. You're like, does it need clean singing? Does it need like screaming or whatever? I auditioned for vocals, and it was like the stupidest audition ever. Like, I had no idea. Like, it was just like, just kind of just awkwardly standing there because I've never been in a band where I've been a standalone vocalist. You know, you're always holding like a guitar or bass or something. And eventually, I think after looking for a singer for a while, Zach was just like, you know what? I'm just going to hash this out and do it. And literally, much like with the recording thing, I remember the day that you started and to where you turned out, it was like so fast how quickly you got good at it. Same with vocals, whereas like I remember when he started and then when he got the recorded, the first time I heard him scream, I was like, is that you? I'm like, did you hire somebody to do this, like a ghostwriter guy? And no, it's just once he gets his mind set on something, he just goes, man.
So as far as like death metal singers go, and especially you guys that really haven't done it, you know, before, you're kind of like learning it on the fly. How do you pick it out? Like how's, you know, like there's the growl, the thing that you have to do to really achieve that can be done different ways. Anybody can change the way it sounds. How do you hone in on one and say, yeah, that's it. That's the one.
For the longest time, I was always like this like closet vocalist in my car. That I was just I never had the confidence to be like, oh, I want to try something until we were at this impasse of like being an instrumental band for like almost a year. And I was like, I kind of pulled like the Dave Mustaine kind of thing. I was like, I can't find anyone to do this. And I remember I tried sabotaging myself and I got myself completely hammered before I did it. Yeah. And at the end of like, I think we did Burnt Blue. I wrote lyrics for that and I kind of did it. The band was like, all right, so we got a vocalist. I'm like, fuck. Shit.
You tried to sabotage yourself. So, you were like, oh, I'll suck so bad. They'll never want me to be this singer.
But what Mikey said, which was so kind, I get very obsessed. You can ask just about anybody. If I have my mind set on something, it's almost too much. But I want to learn. I don't want to let these guys down. You know, like I want to make something that's special to me, but I also like they matter to me quite a bit.
That's cool. That's cool.
Outside of that,
you hold a responsibility with things, like you take responsibility for.
Yeah, I'm in both worlds. You know, it can be, I guess, in a way like this selfish thing that I'm trying to make, but then it's also selfless because I'm like, what do you guys want? You know, and usually it's like, dude, you're doing a great job. Don't worry about it. Like, yeah, you know.
But you always want to include everybody and feel like it's like, and to be honest, I mean, like, that's probably the best way to keep a band together.
Yeah, I love these dudes. I've known Mikey for 10 years, Shane for 10 years. I think I've known Eric. I met Eric when the band started. I never met him before. He was just like this guy that people told me about, and I was like, do you want to just come by? You know, because I only wanted one guitar player. And then he shows up in this. It was just this very magical thing. He's a very special breed of musician, and just as a person, I think everyone here is very special and talented. But I think we just got really lucky.
Yeah, well, sometimes that is the best way to put it together, is have luck fall into place like that.
Yeah.
Do you write most of the lyrics?
As of now, I do. We're working on another release right now where I want to include Eric and Mikey, and we're not quite sure how it's going to quite go. A lot's happened in all of our lives right now, so we haven't really talked too much about it, but right now we're mostly focused on tracking all the instruments and just kind of all sitting down. And, you know, I do have like a theme, you know, I have I don't want to give away too much right now.
Yeah, right.
You know, but, so I'm going to present that. I'm going to probably write like a lot of I'm kind of like the meat and potatoes kind of person. Shane and I are both kind of like, this is kind of like our structure. This is like, these are the frames of the house, and they kind of let these two guys add all the decorations.
I got you.
And yeah, I would like to have more vocals. That's kind of like the biggest complaint when we play live, is that there's not enough vocals.
Why? Because of the progginess I was talking about. Yeah, you have these long sections in between vocals, and people. Well, you know what? I mean, like, all right. I mean, like, that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Like that's not for, but then there's a huge audience for it also. So it's like,
yeah,
Everything's not for everybody.
The
You're not
shows are
gonna be
always
able to please
crazy.
it. Yeah.
The shows are always crazy. For some reason, they're crazy. You
Well,
know?
it's, you guys are good.
Yeah. Thank you. We're okay. Yeah.
No, you guys are. You're good. So you do the vocals and guitar. Is that something you could always do, or is that something that you recently had to kind of learn how to split the brain in there and make that happen?
Got obsessed, man. Forced myself into it.
So let me just take you down this road. What's your upbringing like? Because it sounds to me like there's something in your past that's made you this way. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a reason why you're so regimented and so obsessed into being the best. Like that's what it is. You have this drive. You have a constant drive. Be the best. Be the best. That's what you are, right?
I just I don't like to be in one. I get bored. I don't like to be in one spot very long. It feels gross. I always felt that way from being a kid and growing up, and I don't know if that has anything to do with like growing up like in this military kind of family-esque, because everyone's very just like, you know, regimented, like keep going, or be organized, you know, whatever.
So you were like that was your upbringing.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. My upbringing was really strange. It was like my grandparents raised me, and you know, with my mom's like this weird like 3-parent household, right? And they always pushed me to be whatever I wanted to be, right? You know, I had an ugly upbringing with my parents and everything, and playing guitar, you know, was one of those things that got me really interested in like kind of processing a lot of those things. And it's always been a tool for the past 15 years of just like, this is how I process things. And I never took a guitar lesson. I never did anything. I just did everything by myself.
Everything's self-taught.
Everything's self-taught.
So now,
which makes me like not know theory, which is a terrible thing.
Yeah, you just feel it out.
Mikey got me into a lot of the things I listen to still to this day, like the weird flavors of metal. He was like one of those
what?
guys.
Like what? What's
the first one was Converge.
Oh, that's what you were just saying before.
Yeah.
The band's kind of like a combination of that.
Yeah, he got me into Converge. Ice is the band.
Yeah, you have to clarify that nowadays.
Yeah, you do. I love ISIS.
Or bands like, I remember he got me into like a lot like Birds, which is like this mix of like, it's proggy. It's very ugly and it's also very pretty, you know? And that's like, I always like that dynamic, because that's how life is, right? It can be really fucking dark and ugly, but it also can be very loving and compassionate and beautiful at the same time. And that's kind of the vibe I'm always trying to like keep together.
Yeah, right. It doesn't always have to be this straight, dark, gloomy thing that we're pushing. There's another side to all this also. I mean, life has two sides. Why can't our song have both sides and describe it that way?
Very nuanced. Life is very, very nuanced, and I don't feel like people quite see that, especially on an artistic realm. I feel like people, like we were talking about, bands take themselves way too fucking seriously.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, and I think that's a turnoff to a lot of people. I mean,
it's just
I
silly.
Do.
I think it's silly. It kind of makes you like, oh, okay.
So you're talking about your upbringing with your parents and everything like that. So now when they see what's become of their boy, and you're like, I've been working on this. I've been I put everything into it, and you're like, here it is. Listen to it.
They
how does that go?
They never got to listen to it because they both recently passed away. Oh. So it's cool, man. It's fine. It's the thing. The important thing is that they were always insanely supportive. There was never like, God, why the fuck are you doing this? You should be doing something else. I don't want to drive you to practice. My grandmother, for an entire summer, I played in this horrific grindcore band at 15, 16 years old. I didn't have a car yet. And every day she would drive me to this house in Cleveland. And I played in that basement every day. And that obsession just never stopped.
Yeah, so you're just that's just the way you're built. Period. That's it. You become fixated on something, and then that's the end of it. You're just gonna until you get there.
It's scary. Yeah, it's scary because I'm like, oh man, am I making the right choice? Like, why didn't I just like do something else? But here I am.
Does this make relationships for you tough? Like,
no, my wife's insanely supportive.
No, I know, but I mean, like the obsession to make things perfect all the time. Is she ever be like, oh my God, he's like, no. Here he goes again. So you found somebody you're just so compatible with.
I think she just gets concerned sometimes. And she's like, I think you've been working on this EP a little too long. But I'm like, I'm learning. Just let me.
Yeah.
I know. It just looks like I'm playing with faders, but I swear I'm just trying to learn. You know.
I get it.
But
yeah.
no, at the end of it, I remember she listened to it. This made me feel so good. She listened to it by herself. I can hear her in the office listening to it, and she comes out and she's like, not my thing, but that's really fucking good.
Yeah, I
like,
think so too.
And she's like that she doesn't listen to that kind of stuff at all. And
Yeah.
she's like, that's good. You did a great job. And it made me feel so good.
Yeah, no,
I'm kind of curious what Mikey thinks, because he's kind of the newest one to be playing with us, even though he's kind of been around since the beginning. He actually helped, before he even joined the band, he helped write Subterranean with Eric.
oh,
They built the structure, because the key change in the middle of that song, we could not figure out until one day he comes over and him and Eric are playing together. And I'm just kind of sitting there just watching him do it.
that kind of stuff's cool.
He's always been kind of a part of it in spirit, until the day came where we're just like, hey, can we play this show together? Because we were out of basis. The lineup kept changing for a while. And he's kind of been around since, and it's brought so much joy, because I've just known him for so long, and he's such a great dude.
Cool.
You
Okay,
know.
when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to you. I want to talk a little bit about Subterranean too. And so when
I
we
have
come,
a story with that one, so yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
When we come back in a couple minutes with the guys from Quiet Zoo.
Cool.
I am ZM Delgado, author of the Rust Belt Rock Review at ZachO'Lantern.com, and this is your weekend heavy metal concert calendar update. First of all, October 7th, Grog Shop. We've got a show I've been waiting for a while. It is The Fall Brawl. Headlining act The Jotun, with support from Beast Killer, Thieves Stay Thieves, Terra Vista, and Galactic Satan. Undoubtedly, this show is going to be a banger, and you are not going to want to miss it. Saturday, October 8th at No Class Cleveland, you're going to be able to check out Maharaja, Black Spirit Crowned, and Nose Wig. Also going to be a great one. So there you have it. There's your weekend. I want to see you out at the clubs banging your head, Cleveland. Until next time, thank you for watching Level Up Cleveland. Thank you for reading the Rust Belt Rock Review. And thank you for rocking Cleveland. Stay heavy. Back to you, Brian.
And we are back with the guys from Quiet Zoo. We got Zach and Mikey here, and we're going to talk to Mikey a little bit.
Okay.
So, Mikey, you're the newest guy in the band?
Yes. Yeah, technically.
How does that feel? Do you feel like the outsider, or do you feel like they included you in? Are you like a brother, or is it?
No, I'm just like a floater. Zach and I played in my first band together.
What was that band called?
Logical Fallacy. We did not pick the name.
Logical Fallacy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the name. And I've just all of his projects. We've jammed in a couple other bands. I think I don't even know if I jammed with the Traveler at all. I might have.
Maybe.
But, I've always kind of been floating around with whatever this guy's.
Always like a hard metal type edge band, always, or have you guys been in other kind of bands
No,
also?
the first one was more of like a pop punky kind of thing, a little bit more. Obviously, 2010 sounding band.
Yeah.
So like, eventually he kind of definitely shifted more towards the heavier stuff as we got older, because he was, we were both young, like 18.
What shifts it? Like, how does it shift? What are you exposed to, or how does that all happen?
I think it's just like the interest get changing, where it's like, when we were younger in high school, definitely a lot more high school kind of problems, and
I think we've just become more honest and real with ourselves of what we actually enjoy.
yeah.
Well, I mean, but how do you find out about it? I mean, like, I was turned on to it. You know what I mean? Like, somebody I knew loved it and was like, here, for me, it was 86 Master Puppets. That's when it came out. Actually, it was before that. It was Ride the Lightning, and Merciful Fate. And then all of a sudden, Master came out, and that was it for me. That was it after that. So what like, how does it happen?
Well,
you remember?
Me personally, because I've always been in the heavy. Yeah, I mean, I think my sophomore year of high school or something, I was the first person because we would like joke about death metal. We were just like, oh, you know, like we played Arch Enemy. We're like, listen to that girl screaming. Like, isn't that crazy? And like we were all joking about it. And then like I was the one person to like walk away from that and be like, that was cool.
Yeah, I
And
kind of
then-
liked it.
yeah. And then, you know, just kind of going on my own, just kind of down the whole death metal loophole. And what I've always noticed is that whatever music I'm really into at the time, the band that I'm playing is always doing the opposite stuff. It always works out that way. I don't know
Really?
why. Yeah, you know, because I kind of fluctuate between, you know, like punk rock, kind of, you know, maybe a little bit more like kind of indie stuff and really extreme, crazy death metal, or, you know, like soul, R&B. Whatever phase I'm in for music I'm listening to, my bands are always the opposite spectrum.
You know, here's something I just thought of. A lot of the bands, especially in your guys' age bracket, between 20s, they're 20-year-olds and the 30s, young 30s and stuff, where you were exposed to a lot of that punk pop, punk rock type stuff, right? When me and Pat were growing up and punk rock came out, like the late 70s, right? The two were completely, you couldn't do both, right? But now, today's, I think everybody that's into one is kind of into the other. There's a very little bit of this, you know what I'm saying? Do you guys find that hard to believe that there was a time where like punk rockers hated metal, metal hated punk rockers, and they wanted nothing to do with each other? Eventually, bands started to bring them together, and there was a few bands specifically. But
It's just funny that they just didn't embrace each other and make something cooler.
yeah,
And, you know, like I feel like it's always been that, you know, because like, yeah, DRI, you have
other one,
Tom Warrior of
Celtic Frost, yeah.
basically picking up when he went to England when he was a kid or whatever, and he picked up a Discharge record. And basically, if you go back and listen to the old Hellhammer and all that stuff, it's like, oh, that's just a D beat. They just pulled that from punk rock. And it's like, it basically was just like, oh, we don't like the guys that dress in leather. And it's like, oh, we don't like the skinheads.
well, that's what it was. It was the skinheads versus the long
Yeah,
hair,
yeah.
and it was like, you have this, well, we have that. It was opposite. Everything had to be different. And it was like, now everything's so like, it's-
Superman ice cream.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Really, that's a good one. Really, but it is like that. I mean, it's like, and so I just think of how it's just changed in so many ways. But what you guys are doing with the Quiet Zoo thing, I don't hear a lot of punky type stuff in there. This is a very traditional metal. The thing that I like about this is it's a hooky good. These are good rhythms. These are good. Everything you're listening to, you can kind of like, your head's kind of moving. It just has all those things going on. Very well thought
Wait
out.
till the next release then.
So do you guys have stuff written already?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How has that been going then? So what you guys have everything written for it? Is it another 3 songs you're gonna do?
We're looking at 5 right now.
Ooh, that's
Looking
a
at
lot.
5, and then some other fun stuff to throw in there, just to kind of add something new to it.
Do you guys ever think about doing the like single release type stuff where you're just putting a song out here, song out there?
We do. It just sounds kind of expensive, just because the guy who does art for us, his name is Brian from Flesh and Bone Design. He does beautiful work, and I feel like just doing a single on just what he does, it's kind of like, I'd rather just put 5. I'm like you. We were talking about albums and EPs. We're definitely more into the EP release situation because no one listens to albums, and people like small bursts
I agree.
of things.
Just do it more often.
Just do it more often, yeah. And I kind of have like this mental schedule right now. That's kind of happening, but yeah, singles sound cool. That might happen. It's not off the table. You know what I mean? Like it could happen. We may not write many songs after this release, and it's just like, well, we got 2. Let's just record 2.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. And I think there's something to be said about the releasing part of it. I think people, they're like you, it's that anticipation each time. You create more of those scenarios versus one large work where the build up, the anticipation, it comes, and then.
I think what's really cool about it is that it gives us more opportunities to be more dynamic and flexible with their sound. Like, this EP is going to sound this way, and then we can kind of transcend into something else where let's have more of a D-beat punk kind of thing going on here and see what happens. You know, or let's be heavier, or let's be more cinematic, let's be whatever. But it's insane. I feel like with like really long releases, there's like this thing, like this mental thing where you have to be constantly consistent with it. And that's exhausting to me, you know.
Got it. You're ready to move on.
I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, you're like, all right, sounds cool. Let's get this thing going.
Yeah, because we already did it, so why do it
right.
again? You know.
I hear you. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So,
All right, so Mikey, back to you again.
Okay.
Bass player.
Yes.
How long have you been playing bass?
Oh boy, probably about since 2013.
Is that always what you've done is bass?
No.
Would you
No.
start off guitar?
Yeah, played guitar. Did like played guitar and sang like kind of punk rock stuff. And my buddies in a band called Abstraction from Cleveland. It was do you know like Affiance or anything?
I know of them.
It's the lead singer's little brother. It was kind of funny. He was like the clean singer, kind of higher pitched voice guy. His little brother was a death metal kid, doing really like all the death metal growls. So they were like the opposite spectrum of that thing. But yeah, they were looking to kick their bass player out, and I was just hanging around, and they're like, "Hey, you play music," and I was just like, "Yeah," and they're just like, "Oh, you should buy a bass and then play in the band." And eventually, once you buy all the gear and everything, people have like my yeah, it's just kind of funny. Bass players are a little bit in demand for whatever reason, especially
always
and
been in demand.
because it's like I feel like a lot of bass players just could be dysfunctional. People are like, "Oh, my car I lost a wheel on the highway," and it's like, like bass player, what are you doing, man? Like just not having the problems. It's just like if you could show up on time as a bass player, it's just like, oh man, yeah, you got to work.
Show up on time. The
Yeah.
biggest.
And like because I also play bass in a band called Persistent Aggressor with like Big Metal, who played in like Ascension, Descension, Death Crawl, all this stuff. And we got some really good shows.
Is that a similar what this is, or is that more of a aggressive type metal?
Persistent Aggressor was like crossover thrash.
Oh.
Yeah, it was real cool. It was John from Axioma played drums on it, and we went around, played some really good shows, open for I Hate God and like Sheer Terror, and dude, yeah. Today is the day. We've got some really good shows with that band, and I was just kind of tagging along a little bit because I was the youngest dude in the band because they just knew I played bass and liked heavy music. So
Are you still in that band?
No, that band broke up, unfortunately. But
See, that's what I mean, though. It's so hard to keep these things together, right? I mean, like there's always something, right? Eventually. So, but you guys feel pretty good about the thing you guys got here as far as the people. I mean, it's like everything seems like it's in place.
It's the best I've ever felt in a band.
No kidding.
Yeah, I feel really good about it.
No kidding. So now you guys are saying when you guys are doing the writing, you're basically doing the jams, and you guys are just building off of. So you guys are jamming. All of a sudden, something happens. You guys collectively just kind of stop and look at each other and be like, "All right, let's redo that again. That was really cool." Or how does that come about?
We'll just keep going. Like there's like this look. Sometimes there's like a look, especially between Eric and I, when something happens on accident. We're just kind of like grinning, and it's probably a weird. It's very weird smiles, but it's like, okay, all right, we landed something, and then we'll loop it for like 10 minutes until it's just burned.
So does nothing ever come to you like in the car driving, where you're just driving and does nothing ever come to you like where you're just like
No,
in your head? Never comes that way.
I'm just always here, just always in the present. I think the only song I ever had that was an idea was when the band first started. We didn't have any songs. We were just kind of experimenting, free jamming. I remember working one day, and the intro riff to Burnt Blue came on in my head. Like just came on, and that's kind of what started. That was the only song that ever felt calculated to me. And then after that, it's just been like, what are we doing today? What's gonna happen? How's everyone feeling?
How do you start a jam? Drums, get a beat going, and then all of a sudden everybody just starts jumping in.
yeah, I'll have because I work it the opposite way with my whenever I'd write music for other bands, I always would write everything and show everybody their parts. That's just kind of how my brain works. I flesh it out that way. And with this band, it's basically like you just kind of get the riff, like the impetus of the riff. And, it's the music itself, it's kind of droney and conducive to just running, not the typical song structure. So basically, you could just start with like a cool, couple notes, and then it just builds and builds.
Yeah,
and
right.
builds.
Just take off. And you guys are getting probably better at doing this now, where you guys kind of like all could just know where your part is, get in where you fit in.
Everyone's very good at participating and having an idea. I remember when Mike, I think when he actually it was kind of like locked in. I remember he wrote a song just on bass, which was kind of like a first for us. Like, oh, there's a bass riff first. Holy shit, this is great. And it was like there was this flavor of punk to it, and then we completely just made it our own thing.
Cool.
So
That's a cool way to write. I think it's a fun way to write, if nothing else. Like you said, it doesn't seem so calculated and stuff.
we support each other. That's all
that's
we
it.
do. We're just constructive. There's never like that fucking sucks. It's always like, dude, you're awesome. Let's build off that.
Let's work on that.
Yeah.
So as far as playing out and gigging and all that kind of thing goes, right? I mean, that's important. I mean, as far as the music you guys are playing, that's the most important thing, period. If you ain't get out and playing, it doesn't matter how much recording you do. Nobody gives a shit. They want to see you live.
Yep.
How many gigs you guys played so far together?
Not enough.
I've only played one with them.
Really?
Yeah.
So you guys, the pandemic's over now. It's time to start getting out. It sounds to me like you had a lot of time you were putting into this EP also, so all that kind of thing going on. Now that it's out, do you guys have anything booked yet?
We're playing Happy Dog October 28th with
October 28th?
with Low Spot.
Low Spot and Flock of Moons.
Flock of Moons.
From Akron.
Sweet.
Killer.
There was this long break because we're going back to normal life after the COVID thing, but it was a time to kind of lay low for me to learn how to be an engineer and how to produce our own music, just to go completely DIY. And once that was done, we're like, okay, well, we got to find someone to do art. And like, I don't want to give some guy $50 and then call it a day. I mean, we put so much fucking work into this. I want to find someone.
Yeah, the visual, right.
We had Brian do it, and he does bands big and small, like See Space Cowboy to like Seether. I mean, he does to My Chemical Romance. You know what I mean?
So you went and got a big dog.
Yes, absolutely. And he was very fair, very kind. It was probably the easiest part of the entire process was that. And he listened to it and is like, this is what I think it is. There was not much change at all.
No shit.
Yeah. It was a wonderful experience.
And now, is that the only time you've really worked with him? Is that one time?
Yeah.
So you're looking. So this is something of those things now where you kind of got a little piece of it, and you're like, I can't wait to see what the next.
Oh
thing.
yeah, I want it to be a consistent thing. You know how some bands have an artist and it works out the first time or just whatever.
Yeah,
and they just
you can
stick
tell
with it.
everything's kind of like it's different stuff, but the same artist.
Yeah, you never have to worry about it. It's like you just know he's going to do a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what the guys got going on.
Yeah.
You guys have an idea about how far you guys are from putting out another EP?
I have drums tracked right now. And we're right now kind of discussing like kind of production stuff. How we want to do guitars this time? What do we want to do different? Again, I don't want to do the same thing again. So,
you guys just put this one out. You guys already have a whole nother one
in the works. Yeah, we're being well now that it's back to normal life. I'm like, all right, it's time to go.
Do you think now that you've learned enough now where the speed of this thing you'll definitely be able to do things on a lot quicker basis? You have more of a plan.
I'm much more confident this time around.
Much
more confident, and having more voices on it too would be phenomenal. It's going to just add more to it. I know I'm like the quote unquote like lead guy, right? But I think having Mikey's and Eric's voice on there is going to be such a wonderful experience.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Was that covering the recording duties basically? That keeps our costs for what we're doing for our records, so we can kind of put a little bit more money towards the art. And I think that a record cover is super important for people getting interested in your band or liking your band,
There's album covers that literally have drawn people into that band just from the album cover itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's people that will defend records that they otherwise would not really like that much because they love the art so much. Like, would you have the same opinion about a Morbid Angel record if Seagrave didn't do that? If
I understand, yeah.
Or if like it was like a basket of puppies, like if that was the art, like would you defend that album? People identify.
No, you're right.
A lot.
There's a certain thing that connects.
Like one of Zach's favorite bands, Typo Negative. It's like
oh really?
Oh yeah, I love Typo.
They have a whole aesthetic with that green and the black, and like just how they do their album covers. It's a thing that people identify with, and I think that's super important. As much as music, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Subterranean was what? That was a single? Did you guys put out? Is that what that was?
It was just the ending of the EP.
Oh, is that what? Oh, that's what it is. That's the third song on the EP.
That's the third song.
That's a cool song, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The idea. This all kind of ties in with Mark. It goes towards
Mark. You're talking about Marky Corkless or Mark Ryan.
Yeah.
Some people know Mark.
Absolutely.
Right.
Awesome guy. It started. I was just driving on the highway one morning and I see like. It's just kind of dramatic, right? but it makes sense. I see this this deer. I'm assuming it's this other deer's mother, and there was a smashed, like its child is dead, pretty much, kind of idea. And I was like, I had this like thing kind of going on. It was super dark, but I didn't really know how to digest that. But there was just something about it. It was just super like unsettling. Into the next experience where I kind of got tricked into taking the heroic dose of mushrooms, and typically that's kind of a good time, but I experienced like, you know, this thing of dying over and over and over again, and typically, you know, like the next day you kind of feel kind of glowy. I felt like I completely lost all my humanity, like everything around me was just insanely dark. To the next scenario where the space flooded and everything here changed, right? I mean, we were knee deep in water, our shit's destroyed, all these bands leave, everyone's mega sad and depressed, and then literally the week later, Mark passes away. Going up to the week of his wake and staring into his mother's eyes, you know, and that whole experience was just it was very intense for me, and that's kind of where that song kind of started and kind of ended. You know, like I don't exist. You know, I didn't exist at a point. I experienced not existing, but now he has to experience that.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So as the deer metaphor kind of came full circle.
It came
right?
full circle.
It was like a whole episode. It started with that and kind of ended on that same kind of motif.
Yeah.
And that's how the whole idea of the song came, and then
yeah, it was just something about. I said something about highway signs. I'm kind of blanking out on the lyrics now, but I think a week after that whole wake, the fucking owner died from a fucking highway sign just dropped on him.
The owner of what now?
The funeral home.
What?
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
He got impaled.
Are you kidding
By
me?
a fucking highway sign. Yeah.
Wow.
No shit. Like, no shit, dude.
Wasn't there something with the ad for the sign or whatever?
Something. Yeah. Where like the garbage, like a garbage truck hit it, like it was like backing up into it.
480.
A 480 right over there.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I was trying to encapsulate kind of just that moment of the deer and my self experience, you know, dying. But now he has to pass away. And then looking at the aftermath of his parents and staring into both of their eyes and everybody else's eyes and just experiencing that. And knowing how awesome of a dude he was, even though I barely knew him. But every time we ever talked or hung out, he was so fucking rad, so positive. He would always bust in our room with Tom Farkas, and he was like, the fucking pedal masters, man.
Yeah,
fucking, these guys sound fucking crazy. And
dude, you sound like...
this is the fucking zoo, man. We're fucking playing with these guys. These guys are crazy live, man. You got to check them out.
Yeah, he was like that. He supported everybody, especially in this building, man. He loved everybody in this building. He would go around, like you said, he'd come into your room and he'd be like, hey, man, what's up? He always asked my girlfriend why she was still with me. It was a joke. It was a running joke. It was every single time.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah, that's pretty wild, man. Those are the kind of things. But see, that's what you write from. You take that kind of a moment and you're writing stuff that, you know, it's not just you're not just trying to say, the death metal band, I got to just do everything that's like. You're not trying to fit your lyrics up. You're just writing.
I'm just writing. Yeah,
you know,
it's just snapshots of a moment in your life where it, you know, you can make life whatever it can be, right? I can be a positive nihilist, right, at times, but you can make something out of a snapshot cinematic kind of moment where it feels like you're like in a script.
Yeah,
like this is scripted out, and you can't make this shit up.
No, man.
You know
especially
what I mean?
especially when you go through a streak of bad shit like that, where it just seems one thing follows the next, you know, and it's before you know it, you're just left there like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, I definitely don't have the vibe of like, you know, with the typical like death metal guys where it's like something evil or fucked up or whatever. It's like, no, I'm talking about I want to talk about human experiences. And I want to connect with people on that level because that's the most important thing to me.
Yeah, man. All right, guys.
Cool.
We're gonna cut it off there, man. Quiet Zoo. Fucking this EP, your debut is killer. If you guys are going to continue in this path, I only see you guys going straight up from here.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good shit, man. I mean, really good shit.
Thank you.
Yeah, check them out. Quiet Zoo, October 28th. You're playing at the Happy Dog.
Yep, with Low Spot.
Keep an eye out,
And Flock
guys.
of Moons.
And check out the EP, Quiet Zoo. I'm telling you, if you like death metal, you'll love it. It's great.
Cool.
All right, that's it for us. We're out of here. We'll
Bye,
see you guys
guys.
next week.
See ya.